What's going on, everybody? Zach and Jay here from the Trading Network. Hope everybody's doing well and that you guys had a good weekend. We're trying something a little different today. Gonna do a live market profile weekly forecast. So just gonna kind of break down what we're thinking, what we're seeing. Obviously, we just had a nice little gap up there on the open. So Jay and I are kind of just going to go back and forth and talk about our thoughts and what we're thinking, at least for the beginning of the week, what we might see in the overnight tonight, moving into the session tomorrow. So at the moment, obviously you guys can see we just opened up. I think our opening price was, let's see here, 19-ish, something like that. You can see that obviously no letters have formed because we haven't hit the sufficient amount of ticks per level to print a TPO there. But our settlement from Friday was at 3,500, if I'm not mistaken. And based on that, and obviously based on the results from the election, it's going to be interesting to see how we move forward through the week. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to plot 3,500.5, which happened to be the point of control from Friday's session. So I think that's going to be a pretty major level moving forward this week. And if we can hold that level, just kind of thinking out loud here, I'm thinking if we can hold this 3,500 level throughout, especially the overnight session moving into New York session, we might be visiting higher profile levels throughout the beginning of the week. So I'm going to mark up Friday's settlement. So that was 3,005. All right, so you can see we got the POC here. So I'll mark that off, then we'll go over to the weekly profile and we see what we got going on. That we're really not very far at all from the all-time high at 35.41 here. So plot a level there, and you guys can see I'm starting with a fresh profile. So I'm just going to plot some of these major levels that we're going to be looking at throughout the beginning of the week. So we have last week's value area high, which was 35.22. We've got the week of October 12th value area high, which is 35.3150, and we have the week, same week, October 12th, that high at 35.41, which is also the all-time high. So really, we only have a few targets to the upside before we are in blue sky breakout territory, and to the downside, we have a lot of room. So I am at the moment, keeping a bullish bias unless we break 3,500 to the downside. And it looks like Jay actually has his candlestick charts up, so I'll switch over and see if that works okay. And we should be able to, you can see his candlestick chart up here. Jay, go ahead and test your mic. Let's make sure that's working okay. I think we should be good.
Test.
Yo, yeah, okay, we're good to go.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Cool.
All right, so yeah, my thoughts.
It's like a 911 block sell just came in at 35.22 and that gap open.
Damn, that's pretty big.
That is pretty large.
That is pretty large for the Sunday night open. So that's interesting. You said it was a sell?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so for those of you guys who are not familiar, that little red bubble up there that Jay just had highlighted, that is the order flow trade detector, and you can access that on NinjaTrader with a lifetime license. And what it does is it essentially just plots large block orders, depending on whatever settings you have, on the chart. So if you guys are familiar with time and sales, where you can see all of the actual orders, coming in as they get processed, this is a visual representation of time and sales on the chart. So typically we'll use this to show us large orders, and you can see right here that was a 911 contract sell right up there at 35. Was that 35.22?
22.50, yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see if that holds as resistance. But a lot of times we see something like that. We see a big sell at a resistance level, or sometimes we see a big buy at a resistance level, and it essentially shows a contrarian move, if you will. So a lot of times you'll see buys at resistance, and it is essentially larger players, in my opinion, doing essentially the opposite of what you would imagine. So
Yeah,
sometimes you
just
can
kind of
see,
pushing the market into resting orders to take advantage of the other side of it, more or less.
yep. So for instance, you'll see sells at support that are pushing price down into resting buys, and then you'll see price move back up. You'll see buys at resistance levels that will basically buy into resting sell orders and then push price down. And you can see that today we actually, or right here, we got what you would expect, a large sell that did indeed push price down a little bit. But it's interesting because it looks like we have, I'm looking on my chart right here. I'm just going to try and flip over. I'm using a regular full session VWAP on my chart. So you can see that we have the second upper deviation from Friday's VWAP right here, kind of holding the gap, or where we gapped up to at 35.17. So on a more immediate note, if this level can hold, then that's going to be interesting for likely a move up towards, I would say, 27, and then we have R2 now up here at 35.33. So most immediately, that would be what I would be looking at towards the upside, and then if we can't hold this 35.17 level, I would be looking obviously for a move back towards settlement and these lower levels. We have London open from Friday, which would be a nice level. We also have obviously the New York opening range here. So that is on, I guess, a more immediate basis what I'd be looking at. And I'm going to leave this open, and I'm going to go and plot some weekly levels on my weekly market profile real quick, just to kind of get some ideas for where we might land on the downside.
Yeah, I know you were mentioning like 3505 level, which seems to be an initial balance level from Friday, more or less. I think it's 3503 or 3502. I was also checking out
Yeah, right there.
a little bit right beneath 3500, around like 35 or excuse me 3490, even closer to 3500, like 3497 ish. There was just a lot of volume done on some of those, like from a volume perspective also, because I mean, realistically, we tend to look at both, like more weight on market profile. I mean, I can speak for myself. I personally like to look at the volume profile as well. And there was a bunch of volume done right beneath 3500 in the
Yeah.
overnight sessions. Typically we don't like put a lot of weight on the overnight sessions. Um, I mean, that's pretty standard for market profile, but just in general, the amount, excuse me, the range in these overnight sessions the last few days was insane. Like, I mean, we're looking at twice, what the typical overnight session looks like in some of these overnight sessions. So just something to pay attention to. Also, not necessarily a line in the sand or anything, but just some levels that I'll be watching.
Yeah, though that 97 level actually was, hold on, let me just try and clear something up real quick because I've got a bunch of stuff popping up on my charts I need to get rid of. So I think it was, yeah, it was that 97 level. That was my line in the sand for Thursday's regular trading hour session, and that held the support quite well. So that, I mean, you could draw really a range like from here to there if you wanted to have a bigger spot. I like that area.
Exactly.
And then this
Definitely.
is, I'll go back to weekly profile here. This is a line that I just marked off as well on the weekly profile. So this is October 5th weekly high, which coincides with the value area low from the week of October 12th. So this is a nice area here, and then we have point of control at 81. So immediate downside targets, I would say, if we don't hold settlement, like larger scale, I would say 81, between 74 and 71, like this area here. And then let's see where we have some more levels matching up. So this, I mean, this is definitely a major area of interest right here, like 34, 33, 75, 31, 30. This has been a level for a very long time. So I'm going to mark that off. Could also do a little zone here. And then I suppose if you wanted to, we could have, probably should have a little, an area separating these levels. 56 is the value area high from the week of October 19th, and then 46 is POC from the same week. So we could have a little 10-point range in that area as well. It's probably as big as I would want it.
Those are definitely nice air. I mean, if you think about the big picture, a 10-point
Like
range
right
is
here.
pretty reasonable.
Yeah, especially on the weekly. That's kind of what I was saying
Exactly.
in the last video. So like, I mean, I like these spots for major levels right here. So we got, I don't know why my zoom isn't working. That's kind of weird. So we basically have a range from 35.02 to 34.97-ish. And then we've got levels from 86 to 81. We have a little zone there. And then I've got a zone from 34.74 down to 34.71. We could extend that down to 34.66 if you wanted to and make it a little bit larger. I think that's acceptable because that would kind of encompass level from weekly level from the October 5th, week of October 5th, value area low from the week of October 12th, and then initial balance level from the week of October 19th. So I think that there's a very likely liquidity there if we're going to have spots from 3 different weekly profiles. So let's pop over to the regular chart and see what that looks like. Let's see if I can do this real quick. Let's go maybe like 2,500 tick or something. Get the indicators out of the way.
Yes, with a nice push up.
Yeah. Let's see, what level is this that I had marked? So this is, turn on my cursor here. So this right here is value area high from last week. 31 right here is value area high from the week of the 13th. I'll start labeling these. So that's going to be October 13th weekly value area high. And that is 35, 31, 50. The next level is all-time high. And actually, I'll do this
I
real
think
quick.
even tonight a push up to R2 at 34ish wouldn't be too crazy. I mean, nothing is too crazy anymore, but that would be somewhat in the cards, I guess, at this point.
35, 34, you mean?
35, 34, yeah. Did I say something else? I meant 35,
No. I think
34.
that's what you said. Yeah, I mean, it looks like we could push up there like
Excuse
very,
me.
very soon, like in the next few minutes, honestly, if it keeps moving like it is now.
Yeah, definitely. I have R2 there. I mean, it looks like it's picking up some momentum. It kind of almost looks like it put a little base here on R1 for the overnight session. I'm looking at the 1000 tick, but I'm sure it looks pretty similar on any other chart.
Yeah, I actually have the 2500 up right now. I'm just marking off some of these levels so they're a bit easier to make out.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's go back down to 377. Yeah, so we can see we just moved up to Friday's full session third upper deviation of VWAP, and you know if that level doesn't hold, then I think, like you said, 34, 41, and then we've got R3 up at 57. So we do have a target if we make new highs here. So that would be I'd say my most likely level if we make a new high.
Said R3.
Yeah. I'll just
All-time
mark that.
highs on ES right now, if I remember correctly, are like 41, right?
Yeah, I think so. Let me double check just on.
Just and the reason I say that is because kind of like a hard, I don't want to say hard rule, but like a standard assumption in market profile in general is that if we're making, and this, the
Oh,
reason I
actually,
say
you're
this
right.
again,
I marked that off wrong.
41.
Yeah, 41 is not all-time highs. 41 is quarterly highs.
Okay. But yeah, just in general anyway, if we take out a all-time high in the overnight session, typically we see continuation the following day. And you see a lot of really good examples of that this past quarter in general in NASDAQ. And I'm sure the same would apply in ES as well.
Yeah,
I
so the
actually
high
have
is
41
actually
marked off myself.
41 is 41 is basically that's the high from the week of the 12th, but our all-time high is 89, and we got that in September. So I'm gonna mark that off. Make sure I have that corrected.
I mean, just as a overall look on the profiles on ES, like if you zoom out a bit to the end of October,
Here, I'll
the
switch over your
past
chart.
week, yeah, sure.
Yeah, you're
And
good to go.
all right. And I'm saying just in general, like you see the more, and you can almost view this the same way as you would a regular, bar chart or candlestick chart, but just at first glance, you can see this is, I don't want to use the word consolidation, but, building like a base
Yeah, it's
here
pretty
more or
tight.
less. So,
Yeah.
yeah. And you
I mean,
just
if
assume the more, yeah, the tighter it is, obviously markets, contract and expand. So we are likely to see some kind of either continuation of the upside or explosion of the downside, I suppose. But I'm obviously leaning more with the continuing trend to the upside here.
Yep, that is for sure. Yeah, I mean, you can how clear is the trend on the profiles? You know, you could literally draw a trend line and wait for that trend line to break on the profiles. As silly as it sounds, it's that clear when you're looking at the session profiles, at least.
Exactly. And I usually do this on the NASDAQ profiles, but sometimes just like to put in a volume profile to see if there's any major differences between well, this is a session profile, but you can do this on a weekly profile chart as well. But I like to just put in a
Hmm.
weekly volume profile to get, a lot of times you'll see like major levels of this. Oh, sorry, calculating. This volume profile will coincide with some of these major weekly, or excuse me, major session profiles, and that just kind of gives you more confirmation to watch those levels. For example, I would, so this is like essentially smack dab in the middle of this value for this day, and more or less lining up with this point of control. So I just like to throw a level in there, and I mean, you can see this gold one here is the point of control for volume, and that's pretty much lining up with this level. Essentially, I'm looking for like overnight high here. If you can, I don't know if you can see my cursor too
Yeah.
clearly, but
Yeah, I can see it.
yep. So right here, this point of control right here, or excuse me, this POC right here, which was an extended POC into the following session Friday, which was value area high for Friday.
Yep.
So basically connecting the dots more or less with important levels from different sessions, and then they happen to correlate with this weekly point of control, which is right here. So immediately we know that this is a major level, and I think you had mentioned before this was settlement, I believe, Friday.
Yeah, 3,500 half was settlement.
Okay.
So I had a range, or I have a range drawn from, let's see.
So yeah, you could essentially drag it down to settlement, which is
Basically like
also
02 to 97.
POC. Okay, gotcha.
Tell everybody how you pulled that weekly profile up, like the composite profile. That's what it's called, right? That's what it's referred
I
to
actually just
on.
drew this one in. So in NinjaTrader, if you have the whatever the full version is called,
Yeah,
in
lifetime.
in your drawing tools, you can go to order flow volume profile,
Okay.
and that will allow you to designate how, what kind of range you want to draw the profile over. So I just go back Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday, and I even count the overnight session here, which would be Sunday night, and just
Okay.
kind of drag that over until Friday.
Cool.
End of day is 16:30.
So I think that's actually there is a built-in hotkey for that already. I believe it's Control 3. Or if you guys click on the drawing tools, you can see that in the right in the like the shapes section, like ellipse, rectangle, triangle. The order flow volume profile is right in there. So just to reiterate what Jay was saying, you can take the order flow volume profile drawing tool, which you can find, click the pencil icon on NinjaTrader, go down, click that, and then click and drag the profile over whatever length of sessions that you want to see. And you can see that's pretty nifty. It gives you a little composite profile, and it's a different way to view things and just get more confluence. So that is pretty neat indeed. So that's
So something else
actually,
I do once in a while is I'll throw the previous week profile on just to kind of, I mean, these are again like larger levels like you were referring to earlier for kind of the higher time frame guys, or if you're looking to swing a position or manage, hedge or manage risk or whatever you might be doing.
one sec, I'll move
But
our videos here.
excuse
All
me.
right.
Even so, I mean,
Huh.
just dragging a profile from the one I just had up a minute ago and the week prior to that as well. It looks like, oops. There we go. That's better.
Yeah, that's cool to see, especially if you turn, like your global cursor on. You put your cursor on those major price areas to the left, and then you can obviously see where they're at on your candlestick chart very, very clearly. I think you got to have a specific setting. It's going to be like either the global or the no time scroll.
Mm-hmm. And then another thing you can do is put your drawings, like if you go into the properties and put them on all charts. Is that the same thing you're referring to?
No, I was just talking about like if you change your cursor settings so you can see, for instance, like where your cursor is on your
Oh,
profile
sure, sure,
chart,
sure.
where you can see it on your
Gotcha.
right, essentially.
Yeah. And I mean, this is a 10-point range here from weekly high last week to value area high of this past week. And that's essentially 40 to 50, more or less, 43 to 53. I mean, that's a really major level that I would be keeping an eye on if I were swinging the higher time frame charts.
Yep.
And yeah, I was just saying, if you have these, like if you go into the properties on your drawings and it says attached to, for anyone using NinjaTrader, it says attached to. It's the first option that you get when you go into your drawing properties. And if you go in there and hit all charts, um, basically it'll put the level that I just drew in on here. It'll attach it to my tick charts, my minute charts, my hourly charts, what have you. So that's a really good way to keep your levels nice and tight too.
So there was that, we got that move to 34 that you were talking about. Actually got all the way up to 36 quarter. So we are pretty close to that 41 level.
I was going to say to take a look at NAS, but I'm just looking at the dome and it looks pretty light.
Yeah, I can pull up
I mean, essentially doing the same thing
NQ
ES is doing.
profile. So I'll recap some of these levels on the weekly, and then we'll go over to NQ and we'll talk about some Nazi girl for a little bit. All right, so just to reiterate what we've kind of talked about a little bit, most immediately we'd be looking for, let's see, where's my price line at? All right, so most immediately, I would say that 3,500 is our biggest level to the downside. This is going to be our biggest level of support, and this is going to get, I think, the biggest reaction if we lose this 35.01 to like 90, 93-ish level. With that said, we're already above the high of last week's weekly profile, and we are at the value area high of the October 12th weekly profile. So if we continue to hold these levels, we're trend is friend, as we say. So we're probably just going to keep moving on up, and I'm going to be looking for more upside until we really see anything telling us differently. With that said, if we do get the break of this 3,500 level, I would be expecting obviously a move to that 34.93, and then kind of a domino effect with these lower profile levels. So if we lose 93, moving into this range between 81 and 86. I like this range between 71 and 74. And then at a more major scale, this level right here, I think is probably going to get tested if we get relatively close to, the 3450s. I think this level has probably very good amount of liquidity sitting there, and it's going to get tapped if we move down there. So that is thoughts for the beginning of the week on ES. And if you want, Jay, I'll move back over to your screen if you have NQ pulled up. It looks like you do, and we'll break that down a little bit.
Sounds good.
I'm going to pull it up on my weekly as well. Is that, you have NQ session profile there?
These are session profiles, yep.
Word. All right.
And the 1000 tick. Excuse me. So I mean, immediately say that the same applies here with these overnight profiles, which is massive in NQ. And I have been paying particular attention to some of these levels that normally I wouldn't be paying attention to, like the overnight VPOC and overnight POC. And this goes for anything we're trading. We typically pay attention to the highs and the lows of the overnight more than the POCs and the VPOCs. But
yep.
Not that we don't pay attention to them, but just the highs and the lows hold more weight. And the past few sessions, I have been paying a little more attention to these. As we can see, they have been providing pretty good levels to trade off of. But I guess first and foremost is an overall picture. I mean, NAS is just powerful to the upside. There's really not much else I can say about it, as we can see by looking at the charts, just ripping. And if we zoom in a little bit to this past week, or the last 3 days of the week, I would say, just got my drawing tools out here.
Yeah, the NQ profile is so thin you can barely see it.
Yeah, I know, it's tough. If you like really zoom into each one, you can see a bit better. But just to, I feel like the majority of eyes are on this level right here, right around 12K for NAS. And I definitely am going to have that marked off. Whoops.
So what is that? We got a POC, an overnight low. Or your teal
Value
profiles
area
are
low.
overnight, right?
Correct. White is RTH, green is ETH.
So we
So
got basically a overnight POC lining up with a RTH low, lining up with another overnight POC, lining up
with
with
another value area low
VAL.
here.
Yeah. And we have
So
a,
it's, go
I was
ahead.
just going to say, we have a bit of a, like a volume gap in that profile right there. You see that those overnight POCs, where those are, we have like the opposite in the regular trading hour session, right? Like if you put your
Oh
mouse on that
yeah,
most
yeah,
recent overnight
absolutely.
POC, there's a void in volume right there. So that would be interesting to see filled for sure. Yeah, there, and then the next profile over, the white profile. See how there's a gap down there too, like lower below VAL. That's what I was looking at. So like previous session, there's a ton of volume there, and then in the next session, there's a void in business being done in that area, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funnily enough, the lines up. I mean, as we just showed, this RTH low, session low, and just by eye, I mean, we can see that this profile is pretty thin right here. So what that's telling, just at first glance, what that's telling me is price visits down here, it gets rejected. There's no acceptance of, price down here. There's no
Yep.
longer term auction going on here, and it's getting rejected, pushed right back up to the upside. And clearly we can see this overnight session is just way above all of those. But I have my settlements up here. I think Friday's was 1275.
Friday's settlement was, yeah, 1275. Yes, sir. Finally got my weekly profile pulled up here for NQ. We have already broken the October 12th weekly highs on NQ. I'm gonna switch over to my weekly real quick. So weekly highs from that same week that we were looking at, where the highs on ES were 35.41. That was 12.197. Just got broken to the upside. And let's look at NQ. Where are fib pivots? We've already gotten very close, actually, to R3 here.
10 points.
Yeah, very, very close. So it's going to be interesting to see if we can continue to push. If we can continue to push, then it's really, kind of blue sky territory until, let's see what the high is on NQ. I'm going to go over TradingView real quick and just check. So previous monthly high was 12,249. So we got just above previous monthly high on that push there. And then we have all-time high at basically 12.5, 12,465 it looks like. So I'll just go ahead and mark those levels off just to have them on there. Probably gonna have to load more data on my weekly profile, because actually I don't think I have anything that's higher than this 12,197 level, because we haven't been here in quite some time.
Yeah,
So
I don't either. I have to load some more myself. And it just came to my mind before I forget. When you're done running through your chart there, if you want to
here, I'll
send it
flip over
back
for you.
over, I have
Yeah.
a pretty good example of like a gap play
Yeah,
on
you're good.
NAS here.
Go for it.
All right. So market profile essentially says a gap play is, so there's two ways to look at it. I would say it's probably 50-50 amongst the users of market profile. 50% would say a gap entails trading completely over the profile like this is here in the night session. And what I typically use is the settlement price, and that's what the other 50% of people use.
Yep.
So from settlement price to the low of the overnight profile, that is what describes the gap. So this year. And the
Hey,
way we
Tibor.
look at that is, what's up, Tibor? The way we typically look at that is price from settlement to the overnight low is the gap, like I just said. And then when price, so essentially I'm talking about Monday morning, New York time, 9:30 a.m., okay,
Mm-hmm.
when RTH opens.
Yep.
If we're still trading above this gap and we're still trading above settlement in general, in the open in New York, we're going to look for a price to pull back into this settlement price. So, in other words, to make things a bit more easy, let's see. If price is anywhere above 1275, I'm going to look for price to come back into 1275, at which point in this trend, I'll be looking for this to be support, and I'll be looking to get long around here.
Yep.
Notice this gives you another level too, because we have POC from that Friday
Yeah, a
right
lot of
below
stuff
it,
down there.
whole bunch of stuff. VPOC right below it.
Yep.
And basically the gap play is to look for price to pull back in the settlement. And one of the most important, one of the major, stipulations to the gap play is that you want to see it relatively fast, like Monday morning New York session. You really want to see that gap get closed quickly.
Yep.
And if it doesn't, excuse me, if it doesn't, the market profile rule says go with the trend. So if it doesn't close relatively quickly, we're going to look for longs up here and assume that, excuse me, again, it's going to get closed some other session. It's not going to happen immediately. So again, typically that gap gets closed within, I'd say, the first maybe hour and a half. There's no hard number on it, but
Yeah,
you can
the
tell
initial
if it's going to
balance is
close. Right.
is like usually what I use for that. But that's cool that you explain that, because that goes with pretty much the main strategy that I use in our trade plans every day, and I'm sure you do as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like, if that's why I say, if we do not see the overnight inventory get into profit quickly, then a lot of instances you'll see either a fade or a trend continuation based on that reaction to settlement price, overnight inventory, or whatever line in the sand. A lot of times it is settlement, so that's a good example for sure.
Definitely.
So I'm gonna
So
go.
that's what I'll be watching Monday morning.
Yeah. Let's see if I can get this pulled up here. All right, cool. We should be good. I need to change my settings a little bit because
Yeah, I just
NQ
have to
is a
push mine up a
lot
bit too.
wider. But general idea here is similar to what we were talking about with the ES weekly profile, except NQ is it's a lot more volatile, so it'll get extended more than ES does. So like I said, we're already above that high on NQ, and on ES, where are we at? I don't think we're working up there. We're at 37, so we're getting close. But most immediate levels, let's see, we got Fibonacci pivot R3, basically right here, 263-ish. Above that, I've got current third upper deviation of session VWAP at 12, 314.50. So I'll mark that at the moment. Is the November 11th holiday in a number of countries going to have an impact on the U.S. market? That is a good question, my friend. I do not know what holiday that is. I suppose I should
Is
look it
it?
up. Tibor just asked a question. What holiday? Oh, you're talking about Veterans Day? Um, yeah, I would say it's going to have an effect. Lower volume, most likely. I wouldn't say anything more specific than that, I guess. But typically, U.S. holidays definitely lower volume.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think it would be anything wild. I mean, it's not a bank holiday. I don't believe, right? No, it's not. I don't think it's a bank holiday. But even still, but
Why is my text so
yeah, the
small?
market's open, but it might be a little more quiet. I don't think anything too nuts.
My guess would be a lot of traders taking the day off and bigger traders turning some algos on and letting them run, something along those lines.
Quite possibly.
But that's pretty much just speculation on my end. All right, so let me just get these levels marked up here. What is this? That's R3. R3 and second upper deviation kind of lining up together. But since market just opened. So what you have right now is New York VWAP up, right?
I have New
On
York
your,
VWAP, yep, and it's actually lining up with
are you just way zoomed in? Like zoom out a little bit if you don't mind. I'll flip back over to your chart just because
just the 1,000 tick on NQ.
1,000 tick. Okay.
So right now, that's the entire Friday session, basically, to
Gotcha. Yeah,
beginning.
so the big difference between using full session in New York is if you look at my chart, see how tight my deviations are right now?
So
I was trying to figure out if they're the same. Like, do you have, see how third
no,
upper
no, they're
deviation?
definitely different because I heard you say third upper deviation and 300s. Mine's way down, like mine's at 200
Yeah, what are your deviations at? So let's go.
right now. Third. So, like you said, wow, this thing is just blasting
We're
right
above
now for
all.
you.
We're above the entire VWAP
Yeah, 100%.
for
Yep,
New York, right? Okay,
yep.
gotcha.
So yeah, obviously it won't draw any new ones until 9:30 a.m. Monday. But right now I
Yep.
have from Friday the third upper is at 195, second upper is at 138, first upper oops, is at about 12081, and VWAP is lining up with pivot point around 12,025 ish. Um,
Okay, gotcha.
yeah,
All right. Yeah. So
just two
definitely a little
different. And
different.
for anyone wondering, just like Zach likes to use the full session VWAP and deviation, and I just prefer New York VWAP with deviations. Neither one is right or wrong. They're just, like I said,
Yeah, just different levels.
yeah.
I'll flip back over to
We'll,
mine so we can see the
we'll
difference.
typically bounce them off of each other too to
Yeah.
see a lot of times if they're lining up. If mine are lining up with his, then it just gives the level more, more confluence, more strength, basically.
Yeah. So you can see I have my VWAP deviations. I kind of got them marked off a little bit. Technically could draw a zone between R3 and second upper deviation for more immediate price action on NQ.
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
And then I like that R2 is lining up with Friday's third upper deviation. I think that's going to be a nice level. So I might even draw a little zone there because if price, well, I won't go that far, but if we were in New York session and price came down to this level, I would definitely be interested in getting long. Definitely be interested in this level. That is for sure. So
Basically, it's a little bit higher. Where are we pointing to? One,
I'm looking at like 12,
just a
like
little
12
smaller.
175, between 12 185 and 12 170 ish. So like a little 15-point range. We have Fit Pivot R2. We've got the Op Zone, 377 tick Op Zone. We've got VWAP at 12.2 inside the Op Zone. And then again, we've got Friday's third upper deviation there as well. So, I mean, we could even, that would be my immediate target if this structure doesn't really hold here.
Yeah, I like it. Looks good.
And then I guess we do have, we do have a little gap to fill, I suppose, between.
Like
Uh,
it's a little bit higher than like 12.1 and
12,110 to, it's really not that big of a gap because there's a wick there. We wick down on NQ, so it's not
Yeah.
too significant. Let's see what it is on ES. So let me take a look at the VIX real quick. VIX is 24. It's just been sinking. So ES already kind of touching the op zone here. You can see that we have, let me make my bars a little bit wider. So this is something that I look out for. See how we wick down? It wasn't, well, we wicked down to this previous doji's low here. But I would actually be looking for a test of like this level. But we did test the opportunity zone on ES. And we had first upper deviation of VWAP in there as well. So it'll be interesting to see if that holds. But I think coming down to 36 is likely. And then if 36 doesn't hold, we're going to see this little area between the weekly value area high from the October 13th weekly profile and R2 more immediately. So we'll see if this this op zone holds up and we keep trending to the upside. See what the 1,000 tick looks like.
I was thinking about maybe even taking a trade up here on NAS, but I typically don't trade on Sunday night.
A little Sunday night action.
Perhaps. I mean, nah, I'd rather wait till tomorrow, Monday morning, but I mean, it is quite tempting to try to fade this overnight action here.
I mean, this is a
But
major level of resistance. So we'll just go back to the profile real quick.
yeah, I mean, as you were
I'm
just saying on ES,
kind of above
that
it.
gap from Friday night to just now it opened, especially on NAS. I mean, it had a like a 30-point wick or something. So like, and it was almost tapped R1. And in that situation, I'm not going to nitpick over a couple points, especially the way NAS moves. Like, you know, a 5 or 10 point gap on NAS is not the same, in my opinion, as a 5 or 10 point gap on ES.
Yeah, it's definitely different.
It's like that can close in a millisecond on
What was it
NQ.
on
You
ES? Yeah, it's not.
know,
It's only 5 points on ES too. It's really not major.
yeah, it's 35.10
Yeah,
to
I mean, so
15. Yeah,
I think we could very likely just continue to see upside pressure throughout the night if these levels hold. Um, but if, like, on a more, I guess, wider scale for the overnight session, if we break back below the gap, I would be surprised if we stayed there because that's 35.10. We have that previous settlement level. We have a ton of stuff between like high 3480s and like 3505. We've got London opening range. Well, first we've got first lower deviation of VWAP from Friday. We've got London opening range. We've got Fibonacci pivot point. We've got VWAP from Friday. We've got New York opening range, low, mid, and high, all in that area. So there's very, very likely a lot of liquidity sitting in that spot too. So this would be like my big downside area to really want to get long at. Like if we get down here and if we open down here, I'd be interested in just kind of watching price action to see how we react to that level because that's 30. I think 3,500. I'm comfortable saying that's like my weekly line in the sand, if you will. I think
yeah, definitely.
that's
Big
fairly safe to
psychological level
say.
too.
Yeah. So like I think anywhere in this level, if we don't if we don't get accepted, if we don't remain and do business up here, then this is going to be uh, interesting opportunity for a short side, in my opinion.
Agreed. Yeah,
So
just current price action on the 1,000 tick is like ES looks a bit different than NQ, I would say. I mean, ES to me on a 1,000 tick right now looks pretty good. I mean, that looks like really good.
yeah, looks very good.
Like
Looks
if it's been,
constructive.
anywhere from 38, and again, this is just immediate, like right now, because
Is
I
that
was thinking
your
about a
op
trade,
zone?
but yeah, this is 2150. The 50s right around 31.
And that's your ES1000 tick?
No, this is a 377. Sorry.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I forgot I switched it, but yeah, even the 1000 tick just looks a little cleaner. Like drive, pull back, drive, pull back. If it can get picked up here, we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, the
What's our
377 especially looks pretty darn nice here.
Yeah, I mean, even coming back down to, we could come back down to R2. We come back down to 30. I think 30 would be an interesting, more immediate support level.
Yep.
27, 30-ish. But those, I'd say generally speaking, that's, thoughts for open tomorrow, New York open tomorrow, I should say. And kind of moving throughout the week, just watching that 3,500 level. I'd say that's the weekly line in the sand. It's going to be important to see if we can hold that. If we can, then we'll be moving back towards all-time highs, very likely. We did just break that quarterly high, 35.41, a few minutes ago. So it's bullish. It's bullish until price action says something different.
Indeed. Do not want to fight the trend.
I think I just got rid of all my NinjaTrader windows. The curse. Hold on one sec.
I guess one other point I would touch on real quick is, just because it's the obvious thing that most people are talking about and looking at right now, is the elections. And we're not speaking on anything political here. We're traders. We care about price action, basically.
Preach.
But in current price action, I'm not super concerned with who wins. I think I don't think one or the other. I mean, well, obviously we know now, but I'm saying over the past week and the weekend, et cetera, and this upcoming week as well. I'm not. I think a lot of people are really focused on, what's going to be good for the market and why this is this and why that is that. And there might be some truth to that, but I can just say from my personal perspective, I'm not. In so many words, I enjoy the volatility it brings. That's about it. I don't.
Yep.
There's no other point that I'm really focusing on except that the volatility that it brings, elections. So if you're like super focused in and lasered in on how politics are going to affect the market, I mean, it's just my suggestion would be. I can't even say my suggestion. What we do is focus on price action.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, how much edge do you really think you can take from anything like that? Like, unless you have some sort of insider information, good fucking luck.
Yeah.
Good luck.
That, and I can guarantee that there's someone else who's able to take advantage of that information a lot faster and with a lot more size. So there's really, as retail traders, there's really no, in my opinion, again, there's really no upside to stressing over all that stuff.
Yeah, there's not much fundamental edge, in my opinion, as well, as a retail trader. Our edge lies in the technicals. Our edge lies in this market-generated information, like market profile and institutional order flow levels, Fibonacci pivots, VWAP, things that the bigger players are using to really take advantage of retailers. That's where we can get our edge, because we can understand what they're trying to do and not get taken advantage of, and be on the right side of things, especially if you're using something like market profile in combination with all these other tools that we use. So that is a very good point indeed.
And I'll tell you the news.
Yep, 100%, man. That is a very good point indeed, my friend. So damn, looks like we've been streaming for about an hour or so. So we can start wrapping things up here. Yeah.
Sure.
We will very, very likely start to do some live streams more often. Want to start fielding questions from you guys, and hopefully get the chat popping a little bit, and start helping more people that are watching our channel and that are curious about using this information that's, it really is at our fingertips, and you can be the small percentage of winning retail traders using tools like these. So with that, everybody, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for sending in questions, those who did, and we will see you guys soon.
Yes.